Did you know that cereal companies like Kellogg's use ingredients in their cereals in the United States that they can't use and won't use in other countries like Canada, the United Kingdom, and Australia? Why should you care? Let's talk about it. These are the ingredients for the American Fruit Loops, which include artificial dyes like Red 40 and preservatives like BHT. Fruit Loops in countries like the UK, instead of being artificially dyed, color their cereal with plant extracts like nettle and spinach and carrots and black currants and paprika instead of artificial dyes. It's also important to note that the American Fruit Loops, this little guy, contains genetically modified grains like GMO corn, which can be higher in the herbicide glyphosate, which is not found in international cereals. Why should you care? There are many studies to show that artificial dyes, preservatives, and herbicide are associated with inflammatory problems, disrupting the gut microbiome, triggering autoimmune problems, behavioral problems in children, neuroinflammation, which is why they are outlawed in other countries.
No, there's a lot of misinformation in here that we need to unpack. Let's go through his claims one by one. He said that there's a lot of ingredients in Fruit Loops that are banned here in Europe. And he highlighted the following graph. I would like to shift your attention and your focus on the ingredients that are marked in red, starting with red 40, blue 1, yellow 6, and BHT for freshness. His claim that these ingredients are being banned or won't be used in the UK and thus in Europe is completely wrong. These ingredients are being used here in Europe. They just have different names. For example, Red 40 here in Europe either goes by the name Allura Red AC or by the E number E129. Blue 1 is being used here in Europe either by the name Brilliant Blue FCF or E133. Yellow 6 goes under the name Sunset Yellow FCF, Orange Yellow S or E110. And lastly, BHT for freshness goes by the name of Butylated Hydroxytoluene or by E321. He's already objectively wrong with his first statement, but then he decides to share a study. A review or a meta-analysis is only as good as the studies that are being used for this review or this analysis. If you use bad data, you will get bad results. Let's have a look at the studies that have been used in the paper he shared. This was the study that he cited to tell the audience that these ingredients that he highlighted in red are concerning for one's health. And the following studies you see on the screen are the studies that have been used in this paper. I read all these studies, so you don't have to. And let me give you my brief review. Let's start with sulfites. My interpretation of the data is suggesting the following. The only people that should be concerned about sulfite are the people that react sensitive to sulfite. Sulfite causes a variety of different symptoms within these people, and it's probably best if these people avoid food items that contain sulfite. Next one is nitrates, nitrites, and nitrosamines. And it's consistently showing that nitrates that are usually found in a great variety of different plant foods, such as beets for example, have beneficial effects for your health. However, the same cannot be said for nitrites and nitrosamines. These two ingredients can be found, for example, in hot dogs or in bacon. These are usually added to reduce the chances of botulism. These two ingredients are strongly associated with negative health outcomes. Most prominent is their increased risk for colorectal cancer. Let's move on to artificial sweeteners. Yes, there's observational data that suggests that artificial sweeteners are linked to a variety of different chronic diseases. However, that data is usually confounded by obesity. Diet sodas are mostly being consumed by overweight people. Furthermore, artificial sweeteners are found predominantly in a lot of junk foods. So it's really hard to tell whether artificial sweeteners are the cause for these diseases or other ingredients being present in junk foods. Having said that, the clinical trials we have show positive health outcomes. Other sweeteners that are being used and emulsifiers showed exactly the same thing as the artificial sweeteners. And what about food dyes that are linked to ADHD in children? This is above my pay grade and clearly not my area of expertise. I will now blend in a great video by Feed Your Mental. Nicole is a licensed clinical psychologist and clearly has the expertise to answer this question.
Actually, the data that we do have related to eliminating certain ingredients in ADHD symptoms in children do show some kind of mild reduction in symptoms after elimination. However, the studies that we do have really small sample sizes, and there's a lot of flawed methodology such that they're asking parents to report on symptom change when they are the ones changing their diet, so there's definitely expectancy effects. Now, there are children who do get misdiagnosed for ADHD and then become medicated, but that's certainly not because of food dyes. What we do have really solid evidence for is that there's no link between sugar or any sort of food additive or ingredient actually causing ADHD. This is a bit of an old myth that seems to be perpetuated by wellness influencers who are obsessed with food. If you do think your child is reacting negatively to a specific food or ingredient, please consult your doctor. Eliminating foods without any sort of medical necessity may actually do more harm than good.
This is why it's so important to always look for domain-specific experts. It's exactly the lack in knowledge that can make you interpret the data completely wrong. And that seems to be the case for this doctor as well. And lastly, his claim about GMO. So far, I've not seen any data suggesting that GMO are bad. But if you have some data present, then feel free to share it. I would love to read it. In conclusion, the regulations for these E-number ingredients are very rigorous and strict. These E-number ingredients are constantly being monitored by the European Food Safety Authority. The amount of these ingredients being present in the foods is several or many times lower than the accepted daily allowance. So you would have to eat a tremendous amount of Fruit Loops, for example, to reach toxic levels. The dose makes the poison. This is a principle that these people don't seem to quite grasp. All these videos are doing is missing the forest for its trees. Videos such as this are just causing fear-mongering and confusion. Even if you indeed swap out these ingredients, that would not magically make these food items healthier. The bulk of your calories still needs to come from whole plant-based foods. That's at least what the totality of evidence seems to be suggesting. What you do with the rest of your calories is totally up to you. And yes, you can even include foods such as Fruit Loops within a healthy dietary pattern. And that's whether it has these ingredients in it or not. What are your thoughts about this topic? Feel free to let me know in the comments section. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you during my next video.